Hello, folks. This is Media Dog with a visual overview. I called a walk around CLTBoss, which is a plugin for Invelos DVD Profiler, just to give a general overview of how the plugin is laid out and its functionality. So hopefully this will all work. All right, so the plugin has a general view like that. It's laid out as a rectangular panel with 4 or 5 general areas. There's an area over here. The upper left-hand menus mostly affect the kinds of things that you will see in this lower left bottom pane. Mostly, I mean, there's this top middle grid, which is where the name variants are keyed in, cut and pasted or keyed in for the search of the CLT. The upper right-hand side is menus and options that mostly affect things that are presented in this bottom right panel. That's in general, but there's a lot of strict thing. So these menus control being able to view the UPCs that are scraped from the CLT web pages, view the credited profiles that have been discovered by doing an online search of the profiles represented by the UPCs, you can also click on the View Credit Lookup, which is basically looking at this web page, which is this is a web browser where the CLT tool is displayed mostly. And there are other menus, for example, scraping this single page that you happen to be on in the CLT to scrape a page in advance, or to be able to select profiles when this panel displays a list of profile IDs that have been discovered. You can select any number of them, click on Add Profiles to Collection, and then those profiles will be automatically downloaded and added to the collection that you designate. Over here, the bottom right panel is used for multiple purposes. It's used to present what I call an audit report, where all of the UPCs that are scraped in the same order as they appear over here in the CLT tool. This allows you to quickly check or audit the scraping that's been done. The scraping is relatively fast as compared to the online search. So check this, and if that looks good, you can go ahead and scan for the XML. I also use this as a place to display a web browser presentation of some headshots and other actor information, just as something for pleasant distraction while other work is going on. I can also display the error log. There's an ongoing error log that you can click on if things seem to be weird, and if I ask for more details, you can often find those details in the error log, pass them on to me for debugging purposes. And the XML, which is discovered by scanning the profiles that have been portrayed by the CLT, the XML, collected as XML, is also output in this area. So here we see some of the other views available. Here's the status display when it's in a mode of keeping track of the scanning process. They'll have a progress bar here, in addition to some textual information, which tells you kind of what's going on. Here's this panel in browser mode, where headshots of the name variant that's being searched for are shown. Again, just a candy frill, something that of interest. This browser, when we're not actually scraping, this browser panel can be used for anything that you could use a web browser for. If you want to do a little bit of searching on the bio or other things about the actor while you're actually scraping for credits, scanning for credits, that's available just as, again, a frill, not necessary. It doesn't cost, except for the initial access to the web page to display the pictures. There's no performance penalty of having this panel here. Again, some of the other things that are available, in the name variant panel, there's a context menu which allows you to do some various things to save or restore the list of variants, and to also control some things that that can appear in this lower right-hand panel. I had to put these in the upper context menu because when there's a web browser over in here, I don't have control, or I should say I don't have an easy enough way programmatically to control the context menu to change what appears. So I put them here so that in the case there's a web browser in the lower right portion of the screen, I still have a way to easily, from a program perspective, give you the ability to change what's happening over here. You can switch back to the XML window, for example, and then I will have control of the context menu. Whenever there's a text box here, I have a context menu that I can control that gives you the ability to do things that you normally do in a text box. Copy, paste, save, so forth. There's another interesting function that allows you to simply type in a profile ID and click on View Online XML. That comes in handy sometimes when you've got the XML in this text box, which is the CLTBoss version, which is the streamlined version, and you'd like to see the full XML. Just copy the profile ID out, paste it here, click on View Online, and the whole entire XML shows up. So that's sometimes handy. On this side, well, I think we'll have another chance to look at that. Nothing new here. I might need to eliminate this slide because I don't see much new here. Okay. Now, on the left-hand side, in this lower left-hand pane, we can see generally three things. You've already seen the web browser, which has the CLT web pages. What can also appear here is a grid which shows the UPCs which have been scraped from the CLT. So this is merely just a replay. Again, one of the things that you can do is save and restore these, double check to make sure that it looks right before you go through the process of scanning the online for the XML. When it's time to actually perform the scrape and scan, this menu item lookup selected will populate this field in the CLT page and click the search button and then scrape or collect the UPCs which are found in the on the CLT pages. After which there is an audit report that's produced in this pane take a look at the audit report. It looks good. Click on Scan All UPCs, and the UPCs that have been collected will be used to discover all profiles which are associated with those UPCs. Then those profiles are then scanned for credits. So anything new here? There's the lower left pane, as I mentioned, could also show not only the scraped UPCs, but the profiles that have actually been retrieved from the online by scanning the UPCs, all the profiles associated with the scraped UPCs. Then those profiles that are found to have credits which match the various options that have been set, whether or not to use birth years and so forth. Those profiles are then collected, and the defaults of the options have been set up so that generally you should get a profile count which equals the UPC count, which equals what the CLT says as the profiles that are associated with that name variant. That's when everything works properly. There are some cases where a bug prevents it from happening. There are other cases where there are legitimate places where CLTBoss cannot match the CLT. One example is that the CLT counts some profiles which are in transition, which have been changed, modified, or added, and the CLT has access to them and will count those credits even though CLTBoss cannot download them or access them because the DVD profiler internal structure will not allow it to. So there are a few cases where CLTBoss is working properly, but just impossible to match the CLT because of the way DVD profiler is designed for plugins to work. Once again, we have the ability to view the online XML from this side of the screen as well. Rather than keying in, you can simply select on a line here, and that profile ID will be used to grab the online XML and display in this text box. Okay. Oh, and that's it. Well, let me back up. One other thing. You do have the ability to totally automate. If your network is running really well, particularly if you have a relatively small number of profiles, you can click Scan After Lookup. And one button click automates the whole process. Click on Lookup Selected. CLTBoss will run the scan, grab the UPCs, generate the list of candidate profile IDs, all the profile IDs that are associated with those UPCs, and then automatically scan all of those profiles for credits and collect them XML and present it in the output window, all with one click. You click on it. If everything works properly, you come back 10, 15 minutes later, and everything's done. Now, so that's the way that works.